Welcome to Learn English with Sara. I'm so happy you're here. Today, instead of teaching grammar or vocabulary, I want to tell you a story that might feel very familiar to you. It begins with a person who wanted to speak English but always felt stuck. Maybe that person is you. Maybe it's someone you know. Or maybe by the end of this story, it will become someone new, someone confident, fluent, and fearless. Her name was Lena. She had studied English for many years. She had notebooks full of grammar rules, hundreds of vocabulary flashcards, and even a subscription to an English learning app. She watched English movies with subtitles. She listened to songs and tried to sing along. And yet, whenever someone spoke to her in English, something strange happened. Her mind understood the words, but her mouth refused to move. It was like English lived in her head, but never in her life. One evening, after another embarrassing moment where she couldn't reply to a simple, "How are you?" Lena sat alone in her room feeling frustrated. Why is it so easy for others, she thought. Maybe fluency is only for people who live abroad, or for people who are naturally smart, or for people who started learning as children. She looked at her English books and whispered, "Maybe I'm just not good enough." But that night something changed. Instead of giving up, Lena opened her laptop and searched, "Why can't I speak English even though I study a lot?" She expected to find grammar tips or new learning techniques. Instead, she found something completely different, a simple sentence that shook her heart. "English is not a subject you study. It is a habit you live." She read it again and again. A habit you live, not just something you read or memorize. For the first time, she realized her mistake. She wasn't learning English like a language. She was treating it like homework. She didn't need more rules, she needed more life in English. So she made a promise to herself, "From tomorrow morning, I will not just study English, I will live in English." The next day, before checking her phone, before brushing her teeth, before even leaving her bed, she sat up and softly said in English, "Good morning. I feel a little sleepy, but today, I want to get better. I will speak English today even if I make mistakes." It was only one sentence. It wasn't perfect. Her pronunciation wasn't beautiful. But something powerful happened. For the first time, English was not just in her notebook. It was in her voice. And her brain felt it. She continued while brushing her teeth. She whispered, "I am brushing my teeth. The water is cold." While making breakfast, she muttered, "I am cracking an egg. I am frying it in the pan. I am hungry." It felt silly at first, but soon she noticed something amazing. English words were coming faster, more naturally. She didn't have to translate in her mind anymore. She was living them. Later that day, while walking to work, she put earphones in her ears and played an English podcast. She wasn't fully focused. She didn't understand every word. But she let it play like background music while the world moved around her. And again, something amazing happened. English stopped feeling like a visitor. It began to feel like a friend walking beside her. That evening, instead of scrolling on her phone in silence, she opened her diary and wrote 5 sentences in English about her day. "Today I spoke English to myself. I felt shy but proud. I listened to English while walking. I learned the word proud. Tomorrow I want to speak more." It wasn't perfect. It wasn't long. But for the first time in her life, she was not studying English. She was becoming an English speaker. And that was only the beginning. In the following days, Lena noticed something unusual. For the first time, she was actually excited to use English. Not to study it, not to pass an exam, but simply to live with it. She stopped waiting for the perfect moment. Instead, she started planting English inside small pockets of her day. While tying her shoelaces, she whispered, "I am getting ready." While choosing clothes, she asked herself aloud, "Should I wear the blue shirt or the white one?" While drinking water, she murmured, "This is cold. I like it." It was strange how such tiny actions could make her feel so different. She wasn't speaking to impress anyone, she was speaking for herself. And slowly her fear started fading away like morning mist. One afternoon, Lena was washing dishes when she suddenly froze. Not because of the water or the dirty plates, but because she realized something shocking. Her mind wasn't translating anymore. She was thinking directly in English. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't fast, but it was real. The language that once lived only in her textbooks was now living through her hands, her thoughts, her breath. That evening, she decided to take it one step further. She opened her phone settings and changed her entire phone language to English. Suddenly, familiar buttons looked unfamiliar. Gallery replaced photos. Alarm battery storage airplane mode. Simple words, yet she had never truly seen them before. At first it felt uncomfortable, almost like wearing new shoes that didn't fit yet. She hesitated for a moment, wondering if she should switch back. But she didn't. Instead, she spoke to herself like a coach on the inside. "You're not confused, you're growing." From that day on, her phone stopped being just a device. It became her teacher. Every swipe, every tap, every notification was secretly training her brain. When her alarm rang the next morning and displayed snooze and stop instead of her old language, she smiled proudly and whispered, "I understand that." On her way to work while waiting for the bus, she decided to try another challenge. She opened YouTube and searched in English. Not English lessons, not grammar videos, just things she was curious about. She typed, "How to make pancakes fluffy." A friendly woman appeared on the screen, cheerfully explaining each step. Words like butter whisk flip, golden brown flowed into her ears. She didn't know all of them, but she didn't pause or translate. She simply watched. For the rest of the day, she kept repeating the phrase golden brown. She didn't know why, but it made her smile. Later that night, while lying in bed, she whispered, "Tomorrow I will try to make golden brown pancakes." Her English was no longer just sounds. It had flavor, it had warmth, it had meaning. The next week, Lena decided to be a little braver. She opened a YouTube video that she liked and scrolled to the comments section. Her heart started beating faster. She hesitated for almost a full minute. Should I write something? What if I make mistakes? What if someone laughs? But then she remembered no one was watching her. No one was waiting to judge her. It was just her and her courage. So she typed slowly, carefully. "This video really helped me. I am learning English and I understood more than yesterday. Thank you." She pressed enter and immediately felt like she had just climbed a mountain. It was only one comment, only one sentence. But for her, it was a victory. That night, she recorded herself speaking for the first time. Not for social media, not for anyone else, just for herself. She pressed record and said softly, "Today I left my first English comment. I was scared, but I did it. I feel proud of me." She listened back to her own voice. It sounded strange, shy, gentle, but it was hers, and every time she listened, her confidence grew a little more. By the end of the month, Lena had built 8 small habits, none longer than 5 minutes, but together they transformed her. She did not become fluent overnight, but she became something far more powerful. She became someone who never skipped a day. and that she realized was the true secret. Weeks passed, and Lena's English no longer felt like a difficult subject. It felt like a quiet companion, always present, always growing. But there was still one thing she feared deeply: speaking to real people. She could talk to herself. She could write in her diary. She could even leave small comments online. But the idea of speaking English in front of another human being still made her heart race. One Saturday morning, she stood in front of her mirror staring at her reflection. Her hair was slightly messy, her pajamas wrinkled, but her eyes were determined. "This is it," she whispered. "I will practice like I'm talking to someone." She took a deep breath, lifted her chin, and began. "Hi, my name is Lena. I am learning English. Today I feel a little nervous, but I want to be brave." Her voice trembled at first, but she continued. "I like listening to English podcasts while walking. Yesterday I watched a video about pancakes. They looked golden brown. I want to try making them." She paused, then smiled at her reflection. "This is strange," she said, laughing softly, "but it feels good." She continued speaking for 2 full minutes, not perfectly, not confidently, but freely, and that was enough. From then on, mirror speaking became part of her morning routine. Sometimes she pretended she was giving a speech. Sometimes she imagined she was talking to a friend. Sometimes she simply described her feelings. The more she did it, the more natural it became. One day, while scrolling through her messages, she noticed an English learning group recommended on a social platform. Normally, she would ignore it, but today something told her to click. The group was full of learners from different countries. Some were confident, some were shy, some wrote long paragraphs, others only replied with emojis. For 10 minutes, she just watched silently. Then, with her heart beating fast, she typed, "Hello everyone. I am Lena from Spain. I am trying to practice English every day." She hesitated before pressing send, but she did. Within seconds, someone replied, "Welcome, Lena, happy to have you here. Keep going." Another message followed. "Nice to meet you, Lena. What habits are you doing? Maybe we can learn from each other." Her eyes widened. "People are kind," she thought. "No one is laughing. No one is correcting me." For the first time, she felt seen. Not as a student making mistakes, but as a person growing. That evening, she wrote in her diary, "Today I joined my first English community. I was scared, but they were friendly. I don't feel alone anymore." Over the next few days, she began sending small messages in the group. One emoji. One good morning. One I like your idea. It wasn't much, but each time she felt a little braver. Then came the real challenge. One of the group members, a woman named Rina from Indonesia, sent a voice message. It was short, cheerful, and imperfect, just like Lena's English. "Hello everyone. Today I am tired, but I want to speak English. I hope you have a good day." Lena froze. "A voice message, could I respond with one?" Her hands trembled as she opened her recorder. She swallowed hard. Her heart pounded. But she remembered her rule: never skip a day. So she pressed record. "Hello, Rina. Thank you for your message. I also feel tired today, but I am happy because I am speaking English. Have a nice day." She sent it before she could change her mind. Then she threw her phone onto the bed and covered her face with her hands. What did I just do? But before panic could grow, a notification appeared. Rina replied with a smiley voice. "You speak very well, Lena. Let's keep going together." Lena didn't realize she was crying until a tear fell down her cheek. Not because she was sad, but because for the first time in her life, English didn't make her feel small. It made her feel alive. From that day, English was no longer a lonely journey. It was a bridge to real people, real voices, real feelings. She was no longer just learning English. She was connecting through it, and that was more powerful than any textbook. As weeks turned into months, Lena's life changed in ways she had never expected. She no longer waited for the perfect moment to use English. She created those moments one brave action at a time. Some days she watched English videos while cooking. Other days she whispered to herself while walking through the supermarket, quietly naming every fruit she saw: apple, orange, grapes, pineapple. She must have appeared a little strange to other shoppers, but she didn't care. She was building fluency in the middle of ordinary life, and nothing felt more empowering. Her phone was still fully set to English, and by now she could navigate every notification without thinking. Words that once felt foreign had become familiar friends. Update available, low battery, storage almost full. These weren't just phone alerts. They were proof of how much she had grown. But the biggest change came from her curiosity. Every time she had a question in life, she stopped searching in her native language. Instead, she searched in English. Not to study, just to solve problems. When she had trouble sleeping, she searched how to relax before bed. When her plants started dying, she searched how to water indoor plants properly. When she felt sad, she whispered into her phone, how to stay positive when life feels heavy. Each answer came in English, and every answer healed her in two ways, emotionally and linguistically. One night after watching a video that said, "You don't need to be perfect to be proud of yourself," Lena sat on her bed and closed her eyes. She remembered the girl she used to be, the one who stayed silent whenever someone spoke English, the one who believed fluency was only for others. That girl still lived inside her, but she was no longer in control. Now there was a new voice inside her, a brave one, a gentle one, a patient one. It whispered, "You are learning, you are growing, you are already an English speaker." The next morning, something surprising happened. At her workplace, a tourist entered the store where she worked and asked softly, "Excuse me, do you know where I can buy train tickets around here?" Normally, Lena would panic, freeze, or pretend not to understand. But this time her mouth moved before her fear could stop it. "Yes," she said confidently. "There is a ticket office 2 streets ahead. Go straight and then turn left. You will see it near the bakery." The tourist smiled in relief. "Thank you so much." And just like that, he walked away. Lena stood there frozen, not from fear this time, but from victory. Did I just speak? And did he understand me? She ran to the storage room, leaned against the wall, and started laughing. It wasn't the loud kind of laughter. It was soft, breathless, almost like a secret. The kind of laughter that comes when you realize something unbelievable just happened, and it was you who made it happen. That night, she didn't write in her diary like usual. Instead, she opened her voice recorder and spoke for a full 3 minutes. "Today I helped a tourist in English. It was not perfect, but it was real. I didn't think, I just spoke. And he understood me. That means I am really becoming fluent, not because I know everything, but because I don't let fear stop me anymore." When she listened back to her own voice, she heard something new. Strength. Not loud strength, not aggressive confidence, but quiet, calm certainty. She didn't need applause. She didn't need anyone to tell her she was good. She could feel it. She was becoming the person she once dreamed of being. But one more test was waiting for her, the hardest one yet. A few days later, someone in her English group wrote, "Does anyone want to join a Zoom call for practice? Just 5 minutes. No stress, no judging." Her heart skipped a beat. A real conversation, a real face, a real voice answering her in real time. It was the kind of thing she had feared for years. Her finger hovered over the reply button. She could say no. She could stay in her comfort zone. She could tell herself, maybe later, maybe when I'm better, maybe when I'm more confident. But then she remembered her promise to herself, never skip a day. So she typed one simple word, yes. Her hands were shaking, her heart was racing, but her soul was alive. She wasn't just learning English anymore. She was living courage. The call was scheduled for 7:30 p.m. She spent the entire day thinking about it. Not words, not grammar, just one question repeating again and again in her mind. What if I fail? At 7:28 p.m. she opened her laptop. At 7:29 p.m. she checked her hair in the dark reflection of the screen. At 7:30 p.m. she hovered her mouse over the blue button that said, Join Meeting. And at 7:31 p.m., after one deep breath, she clicked. The screen opened to 3 faces, a smiling woman from India, a shy young man from Brazil, and Rena, the same girl who had once replied to her voice message with kindness. Hi, Lena, Rena waved cheerfully. So happy you joined. Lena's throat tightened. Her first words came out trembling. Hello, I am a little nervous. That's okay, said the woman from India. We all are, but we're here. And that's what matters. They didn't correct each other. They didn't compete. They didn't try to sound perfect. They just spoke. They talked about simple things, weather, hobbies, breakfast. But for Lena, it felt like climbing a mountain with friends beside her. Every time she spoke, her heart raced. But every time someone replied, her fear melted a little more. After 6 minutes, the call ended. It wasn't long, it wasn't dramatic. But for Lena, it was life-changing. She didn't go to bed that night. She sat by the window watching the quiet streetlights reflect on the pavement. And for the first time in her life, she whispered something she had never dared to say before. I am an English speaker. Not I am learning, not I am trying, not maybe one day. No, I am. She placed her hand on her heart and repeated it. I am an English speaker. And she believed it. Not because she was perfect, but because she showed up. Because she spoke even when her voice shook. Because she made English part of her life, not once a week, not once a month, but every single day. She finally understood something that changed everything. Fluency is not built in classrooms. It is built in courage. Not loud courage, not heroic courage, quiet courage. The courage to record one sentence. The courage to whisper to yourself. The courage to leave one comment. The courage to say yes to a 5-minute call. The courage to continue even when no one is watching. Months later, people started asking her, how did you become so fluent? She smiled and replied, I didn't study harder. I just stopped waiting for fear to disappear. I brought English into my mornings, into my kitchen, into my mirror, into my phone, into my heart. And one day, fluency stopped being my goal and became my identity. So now if you are listening to this and you still think you are not ready, let me tell you the truth Lena learned. You do not become confident before speaking. You become confident because you speak. Not perfectly, not fearlessly, just honestly. Your English journey will not begin when you move abroad or when someone invites you to speak. It begins the moment you decide, I will not stay silent anymore. So start today. Say one sentence. Write one line. Comment one word. Record one thought. Join one call. Not to impress the world, but to prove to yourself that you are brave enough to begin. Because fluency does not belong to the smartest. It belongs to the consistent. It belongs to the patient. It belongs to the courageous. And that means it belongs to you. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment telling me which part gave you the most courage. Your journey is just beginning and I'll be right here walking with you.